uh, during I think the first year that we were trying to get the TV channel at the hospital going, and we couldn't find, nobody was going to put up any money. It's kind of like somebody said, well, why can't PBS do that, or this, that, or the other thing, and talking about making a TV channel where children actually helped make the channel or participated, especially in the hospital. Just, I mean, even if you said it as clearly as you could, people didn't understand. So, I was doing whatever we could to, I was actually making a guide each week of best recommended shows using materials from, I think at that time it was still the American Council for Better Broadcasts, the National Telemedia Council. But one day, and I was telling stories, whatever, but also trying to get this thing going. And one day, I was paged to fifth floor, the floor that the slightly older patients were on. And the very puzzled nurse said, I don't get it, but Dr. Olness wants you to tell a story to the boy in 5A. He's having an asthma attack. Well, I did get it. My dad had severe asthma and emphysema, and I had learned that I mean, it's a physical trigger, allergies that cause the thing, but you start coughing violently, and if you start to panic, it just makes it worse. And she just wanted him to relax. And so I sat down. I can't even tell you what story I told, but there's a whole thing. I mean, I'm sure I picked something that I thought was calming and soothing, but there's also a way, you can make a calming and soothing story, horrific just by, how you use your voice. So it's the use of voice to just, tell the story. And he relaxed, and the ensuing attack went away. Well, the other piece when I did decide that I was going to, get into education, this may not seem related, but I was at a storytelling festival in Iowa and heard a high school teacher told a story of a Shakespeare play. And yeah, I mean, he did a pretty good job. He wouldn't be somebody that would be considered a traveling entertainer, storyteller, but he did a good job telling the story. And I thought, boy, when I hated Shakespeare. When I was in school, they dropped this, hard to follow language, to read this and come back and we'll talk about it the next day. And I just hated it. And I thought, if the teacher would have told us the story, it would have relaxed me. It would have, calmed down the anger about being made to do something so stupid. If the teacher would have told the story and then said, now read it, the language is really different from what we're used to, but read it and then we'll talk about it. It would have made all the difference. So all of this to get to the last year that I worked for the schools, there was another round of budget cuts that had started up, and this one they were laying off music teachers and phy-ed teachers, nurses, people that had always, as long as anybody could remember, they had those positions in the school, but the budget cuts were cutting those. So the thing I was doing, the only one in the district doing what I was doing that way, I mean, I often got aligned with media, but I wasn't a media specialist. I didn't have that license. Mine was first to go. And so, I spent the next several years going to bidding every year, which I've never had to do before, and bid into something that left some room for what I did. I took a job one year. I was a school that had an environmental program, so they had an environmental specialist. And I took that job and I taught kids to, tell stories that had environmental themes and to make videos that had environmental themes. I did health one year, same thing, stories and videos and other media kind of delivery that had that theme of teaching health. And there was all kinds of stuff going on. It was just getting really hard, and I just decided I was almost 40 when I started, but I had enough years in, and because it was what the age I was at the time, I could take early retirement. Even though it wasn't going to be a very big retirement, I knew I would go do something else. But I decided to take early retirement. But I thought, I'll go look at the bidding one more time. And there was a third grade classroom in this school. And that was my original idea, get a classroom and use storytelling and video. And I'd never done it. It didn't happen. I came, so I thought, well, I'm going to do that. It said, must be willing to integrate the classroom work with the arts program of the school. Well, that first school that I was in, that was this great arts program. So I signed on to do this. And it didn't take very long to find out that the principal was kind of not, in my opinion, not very good. The school was really out of control, and the arts program had been disintegrating, and it was really a very unpleasant place to be. And of course, it was during this time when I think it was called No Child Left Behind, and if you didn't pass the test, you were put on the bad list, and the school was on probation and all that. So there was all this stress about passing the tests, and I mean, I'd never taught reading formally before. One of the early parts of the year, the principal came in and I was telling a story to the children in my class, and she was just amazed and impressed and so glad that I was there. And then a little bit later, she started coming in, and I was using, I believe that, reading, it's like you need to hear it in a way that you love it, and then be able to recognize the words on the page and put those together. I mean, that's kind of a compilation of whatever. She came in and I was using wordplay and this, that, and the other thing. And she said, "You're never going to teach them to read like that. They need to." And she started to explain to me the kind of kill and drill exercises that, which I knew something about. And anyway, I just determined that the third grade was third, and another grade were the main places where the tests were given. And so I was and I'd never had a classroom before, and I'm being leaned on about and I decided when the year was over, I was done. I should have been done the year before, but we got to the tests. And I mean, I had never, because I didn't have to give tests as a specialist, I'd never experienced this pressure the way, and of course, I'd never been in a school that was so under threat of being put on I guess they had been on the bad list. And I'd been around enough storytellers who had a calming presence, and I'd been around people who had done these kind of relaxation exercises. So I decided that when I was doing the instructions for the test, because I thought if the teachers are stressed out and you're operating that way, you're dumping all that stress on the children, and that makes it hard for them to. So I decided to do the test instructions like I was telling a calming story to the boy having an asthma attack, or like had heard people do relaxation exercises. And it was interesting to me because the principal stopped in, I mean, during that time, I suppose, to find out how I was messing this thing up, that there was nothing they could do about, because and I did the instructions that way. And we got to the end of the year and I was done. But this was probably how it was done in every state. The results of those tests were not published till a year later. So they had you strung out for a year just to add to the stress. But though I no longer worked for the system, I made sure to read the test scores when they came out. And my school and the third graders passed.